I know it might feel like you should be further along by now, but comparison is the thief of joy, and it's also completely inaccurate. Most people are not doing well financially. Most people don't have emergency funds. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, and too ashamed to talk about it. So if you're here listening to this, trying to learn, trying to do better, you're already ahead of the game. You're listening to Everyone's Talking Money, the show that's all about making life richer. Whether you're here to crush debt, build wealth, or finally feel in control of your cash, you are in the right place. Here's a hard truth. If your savings account is basically a graveyard for good intentions, empty, forgotten, and collecting dust, it's not because you're lazy or bad with money. It's because the system you're using is broken. You're listening to Everyone's Talking Money, the show that's all about making life richer, from your bank account to your mindset and everything in between. Whether you're here to crush debt, build wealth, or finally feel in control of your cash, you are in the right place. Let's dive in and get you living life on your terms. You are one conversation closer to financial freedom. Welcome back to another episode of our Financial Confidence Bootcamp. This is episode 3. Shari here, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. Whether you're folding laundry, commuting to work, or stealing a quiet moment with your coffee, thank you for choosing to spend this time investing in your financial future. Today, we're talking about something that I think gets completely misunderstood in personal finance, and that's saving. But before we dive in, I want you to shift your mindset with me for just a second. Here's the truth about saving. You don't save for emergency, you save for opportunity. I know. Every financial advisor, every personal finance expert on the planet tells you to build an emergency fund for when your car breaks down or your water heater explodes. And yes, I've said it too, and that's part of it. But that framing, it makes saving feel like you're just preparing for disaster, like you're hoarding money just to watch it sit there, waiting for something bad to happen. But what if we flipped that script entirely? What if saving was actually about creating freedom? Freedom to say yes to the job opportunity that requires you to relocate. Freedom to take that spontaneous weekend trip with your best friend. Freedom to leave a situation that's no longer serving you, whether that's a job, a relationship, or a living arrangement, because you've got a cushion that says you're going to be okay. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I had a client. We'll call her Michelle. Michelle was working a corporate job that paid well, but it was absolutely draining her soul. She'd come home exhausted every day, get the Sunday scaries, and spend her lunch breaks scrolling job boards, but never actually applying to anything. Why? Because she had maybe $800 in savings. And the thought of leaving her stable paycheck, even for something better, a job that's better, felt terrifying. There were way too many question marks. We worked together for about 8 months, building up her savings using the exact system I'm going to teach you today. And you know what happened? She didn't just save money. She saved her confidence. When she hit that 6-month emergency fund mark, something shifted. She started applying to jobs she actually wanted. She negotiated harder because she knew she could walk away if they didn't meet her needs. And when she finally got an offer at a company she was excited about with better pay, better culture, better everything, she put in her 2 weeks notice without that pit of anxiety in her stomach. She texted me that day and said, "I feel like I can breathe now. Like I'm finally in control of my life." And that's what we're unpacking today. This episode is called Save Like You Mean It, Automating Confidence. And by the end of our time together, you're going to have a 3-tier saving strategy that actually works with your real life, not some theoretical perfect vision of you that doesn't exist. But first, let me share something that completely changed how I think about saving. There's this study from behavioral economics, and I'm paraphrasing here, but stick with me. Researchers found that people who automate their savings save on average 2 to 3 times more than people who manually transfer money each month. That 2 to 3 times more. And it's not because automated savers earn more money or have better willpower, it's because they remove decision fatigue from the equation. Think about it. Every single day, you make thousands of decisions. What to wear, what to eat for breakfast, which route to take to work. Should you reply to that email now or later? By the time you get to the end of the day, your brain is exhausted. And then you're supposed to sit down and decide to move money into savings when your brain is already running on fumes. When Netflix is calling your name and there's leftover pizza in the fridge, not happening. Every time you have to decide to save, you're fighting against a brain that's wired for immediate gratification. Your brain is literally saying, but what about that jacket I saw online? What about brunch this weekend? What about that subscription service that just launched that's showing up in my algorithm all the time? And willpower? Willpower is exhaustible. It runs out, usually around 3 p.m. on a Tuesday when someone brings donuts to the office. But automation doesn't get tired. It doesn't scroll Instagram at midnight and see ads for things it doesn't need. It doesn't have a bad day and decide to treat itself. It just works. So today, we're going to build a savings system that works for you, not against you. One that doesn't require you to be perfect, disciplined, or restrictive. All it needs is for you to be intentional. Let's get into it. Okay, real talk for a second. Why does saving feel so impossibly hard? Because here's what I hear all the time. I know I should be saving. I want to save, but somehow by the end of the month, there's just nothing left. Or maybe you've said this, I'll start saving when I make more money. That's a big one. Or how about this one? I tried saving, but then I had to dip into it for my friend's wedding, and then my cat got sick, and then there was this thing with my car, and now I feel like I failed, so really, what's the point? If any of that sounds familiar, I need you to hear me when I say this. You are not broken. The system is. We live in a culture that's designed to make you spend. And I don't mean that in some vague conspiratorial way. I mean it literally. Every app you open, every billboard you pass, every email in your inbox, every TikTok that pops up on your For You page, it's all engineered, tested, and optimized to convince you that you need something, that you're missing out, and that you deserve a treat, that everyone else has this thing and you should have it too. There are entire teams of psychologists and marketers whose full-time job it is to figure out how to get you to click buy now. But you do deserve good things. I'm not saying you should live like a monk and never enjoy your money, but here's the problem. We've been taught that saving is the opposite of enjoying your money, just like budgeting is the opposite of living your life. But here's the problem. That saving, the opposite of enjoying your money, is about restriction, about saying no, about depriving yourself of joy today so that future you can have what? A boring spreadsheet or an app with bigger numbers on it? No wonder it feels hard. No wonder it feels like punishment. I remember when I first started trying to save money in my 20s, I'd read all these personal finance blogs that basically said, just stop buying coffee, stop going out with friends, stop having fun. And I'd try it for like 2 weeks, feel completely miserable and resentful, and then swing completely in the other direction and blow $300 at Target on stuff I didn't even need. Hence the caged animal syndrome. It was this exhausting cycle of restriction and rebellion, And I felt like such a failure because I just couldn't get it together and be responsible. But what if we reframed saving entirely? Saving isn't about restriction. Saving is about building the life you actually want. Let me say that again because it's important. Saving is about building the life you actually want. When you save, you're not taking something away from yourself. You're giving something to yourself. You're giving yourself options, flexibility, peace of mind, the ability to handle life's curveballs without spiraling into panic mode or racking up credit card debt. You're giving yourself permission to take risks because you have a safety net. You're giving yourself the freedom to say no to things that don't serve you. You're giving yourself breathing room. And here's the other thing I want to address: perfectionism. Perfectionism, let me tell you, is such a savings killer. And I know this from experience as well. So many people don't start saving because they think it has to be this big, impressive amount. They think they're supposed to have 6 months worth of expenses saved immediately. And they look at their checking account and think, well, I can't do that right now. So I guess I won't do anything. Or they start saving $50 a week, but then they have to dip into it for something unexpected and think, see, I can't even do this right. Why bother? But listen, if you can save $10 this week, save the $10. If you can save $25, save 25. If you can only save 5, save 5. Because here's the truth. The amount doesn't matter nearly as much as the habit. Saving $25 a week for a year is $1,300. That's a plane ticket somewhere you've always wanted to go. That's a new laptop when yours finally dies. That's a buffer that keeps you from going into debt the next time life gets expensive. And we know life always gets expensive. Small, consistent actions compound over time. And I mean that mathematically, but I also mean it psychologically. Every time you save money, even a small amount, you're proving to yourself that you can do this. You're building confidence. You're rewiring the stories you tell yourself about money. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. And the biggest lie we tell ourselves, I'll save when I make more money. Have you said that to yourself before? I'm going to be blunt. If you don't save when you're making $40,000, probably won't save when you're making $80,000 because lifestyle inflation is real. The more you make, the more you spend, unless you build the systems that prevent that from happening. I've seen this play out over and over again with clients. Someone's getting a big promotion or a new job with a big raise, and they're so excited because they think, finally, now I'm going to be able to save. And then 6 months later, they're still living paycheck to paycheck because now they've upgraded their apartment. They're eating out more. They bought a nicer car. They have a bigger wardrobe budget. And somehow, even though they're making more money, there's still nothing left at the end of the month. The people who are successful at saving aren't the people who make the most money. They're the people who treat savings like a non-negotiable, like paying rent, like feeding their dog, like charging their phone. You don't wait until you feel like paying rent, do you? No, you just pay it because it's essential. It's not optional. Saving is essential too. Not because Dave Ramsey said so, not because some finance bro on YouTube said so, but because you deserve to feel secure. You deserve to have choices. You deserve not to lie awake at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling, wondering what happens if your car breaks down tomorrow or your company announces the rumored layoffs next quarter. So let's stop thinking of saving as deprivation. Let's start thinking of it as self-care, as one of the kindest, most loving things you can do for yourself, because future you is counting on present you. And present you deserves to feel secure and empowered right now. And now that's why we've reframed the why. Let's talk about the how. So if you're here listening to this, trying to learn, trying to do better, you're already ahead of the game. You're not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. If you know someone that also needs to hear this message, do me a favor right now and click share. It just takes 2 seconds. Hit that share button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And every small step you take from here, every $25 you save, every automatic transfer you set up, every conscious choice you make is moving you closer to the life you actually want. That's not small, that's everything. So during this ad break, again, click that share button and be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate the small wins and remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. All right, this is where things get practical. And honestly, this is my favorite part because once you have a system, saving stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling, dare I say, easy, maybe a little fun, maybe not. We're not that fun yet, but easy for sure. I want to introduce you to what I call the 3-tier saving strategy. And the reason I love this framework is because it acknowledges that you're not just saving for one thing. You're a whole human with multiple priorities, multiple timelines, and multiple dreams. Trying to shove all of that into one savings account labeled savings or emergency fund or my dreaded rainy day fund, that's a recipe for confusion, frustration, and constantly rating your so-called emergency fund for things that aren't actually emergencies. Like, well, I need to go to this wedding and I don't have any money, so I guess that's kind of an emergency. No, that is not an emergency. That is a lifestyle expense you should have a separate bucket for. So instead, we are going to create 3 distinct tiers, 3 buckets, 3 purposes, each one serving a different part of your life and your financial journey. Let me break it down for you. Tier 1 is your safety net, also known as the emergency fund. This is your foundation, your security blanket, the thing that lets you sleep at night without jerking awake in a panic thinking about all the things that could go wrong. The goal here is simple. Save enough to cover 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. Now, when we think 3 to 6 months, we think of 3 months or we think of 6 months. But guess what? There's also 4 months and 5 months. So how do we figure this out? We look at your essential expenses, your needs, not your current spending. Not every subscription service, coffee run, and brunch date, maybe one brunch date or maybe one coffee run, but not every single one of them. I'm talking like, let's keep it to our needs. What do we need to survive? And sometimes that could be a latte. What would you need if you lost your job tomorrow? Rent, mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance premiums, car payment, Metro card, minimum debt payments if you have them, phone and internet. So add that up. Going out to eat, maybe grabbing dinner once a month. That's your baseline. Now multiply that by 3 for your minimum emergency fund goal or 6 for the optimum goal. Now, if you just did the math and you felt like your stomach drop, if you're thinking that's like $15,000, I'll never get there, take a breath. Because here's the thing, you don't have to do this overnight. And also, if you also did the math of, well, that's $30,000 for 6 months, there's no way that's happening either. Depending on 1, how steady your income is, 2, whether you rent or own your home. If you rent, you're likely not going to have as much home repair or have any home repair, right? Because you have a landlord. So you don't need as much in an emergency fund if you rent. Or if you do own a home, but you have a roommate or a partner that's also contributing to the household expenses, then again, you may not need 6 months worth of expenses saved. If your job is lumpy though, and your income's lumpy, then you may need closer to 6 months worth of expenses saved. But 3 months is less conservative. 6 months is the most conservative. If 3 to 6 months feels impossible, start with $500. That's enough to cover a lot of small emergencies, a car repair, a broken phone, an unexpected medical bill without going into debt. Then build to $1,000, then 1 month, then 3 months. Build it brick by brick, $25 or $50 or $100 at a time. The journey from 0 to 1,000 feels huge. But once you get there, the momentum is real because you've proven to yourself that you can do this. And this account, this money is boring. And that's the way I like it. It sits in a high yield savings account, somewhere that's earning you maybe about 4%. Interest rates have gone down at the end of 2025. So maybe 3.5% interest right now, but let's have your emergency fund make a little money while it's sitting there, right? So if you have been having your emergency fund sitting at your brick and mortar bank's savings account, you're not making any money. So just do a little bit of Googling and Google high yield savings accounts and just pick the highest one. We don't have to overanalyze it. Just pick the highest percentage and open up an account there and move the money from your brick and mortar bank to your online bank's high yield savings account. The making money while your money's sitting there doing nothing is super important because it's only job is to sit there. It might as well make a little bit of money while it's doing its job. We're not investing this money. We're not locking it up in a CD where you can't access it. It needs to be liquid and accessible, but it has to be separate from your checking account because out of sight, out of mind. And you don't touch it unless there's a genuine emergency. And no, a really good sale at your favorite store does not constitute an emergency. A new iPhone when yours is working just fine is not an emergency. A vacation because you're stressed is not an emergency. I'm talking job loss, medical crisis, major home or car repair that you can't avoid, owing Uncle Sam money after you file your taxes. The stuff that would otherwise send you spiraling into debt or financial chaos. This tier is your peace of mind tier. And honestly, once you have it, everything else in your financial life feels lighter because you know you're going to be okay. Even when life gets hard, and it will, you're going to be okay. So, how much should you save here each month? If you're starting from zero, let's start off with 10 or 15% of your take home pay going towards that tier one bucket until you hit the 3 to 6 month mark. So if you bring home $3,000 a month after taxes, that's $300 to $450 going into your emergency fund every single month. If you're like, whoa, 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 that is way too much. If you bring home $3,000 a month, that's 300 or 450 a month. So really like 150 per pay. Okay. If 150 per pay still feels like too much, start with 5%. Okay. $75. Start with $100. Start with something. The key is consistency, not perfection. And once your emergency fund is fully funded, you don't stop saving that money. You just redirect it. That 10 to 15% that was going to tier one, now it goes to tier two or tier three. Your savings rate stays the same, but your goals evolve. Tier two, your lifestyle goals. This is the fun stuff. This is what we enjoy talking about. This maybe now is where savings gets exciting. This is where you get to dream a little. Tier two is for the goals that make life good. The things you're working towards that aren't emergencies, but they're also not decades away either. The stuff that makes you excited to wake up and keep going. This could be a vacation to Italy or Thailand or the place you've been pinning on Pinterest for 3 years now. It could be a down payment on a car that doesn't require you to pray every time you turn the key. A wedding, either yours or someone else's that you're in. A home renovation that finally gets rid of the terrible wallpaper from 1987. A new wardrobe for the career shift or because you lost weight or because your style has evolved. Moving to a new city for a fresh start. Going back to school or getting a certification or starting a business or a side hustle. These are your short to midterm goals, things you want to accomplish in the next 1 to 5 years. Here is why this tier is so very important. It keeps you motivated because let's be real, saving for some vague future version of yourself when you're 65 and retired, that doesn't exactly spark joy when you're 32 and exhausted on a Thursday and someone just invited you to go to happy hour. But saving for that trip to Japan next fall, saving for your best friend's destination wedding in Cabo, saving to finally upgrade your IKEA furniture to something that doesn't require an Allen wrench and a YouTube tutorial, that's exciting. That's like adulting. It gives us something tangible to look forward to. And here's the best part. When you save intentionally for these goals, you don't feel guilty spending the money when the time comes. You're not swiping your credit card and hoping it all works out. You're not draining your emergency fund and justifying it as, well, it's kind of an emergency. You're not going into debt and then spending the next year trying to dig yourself out. You saved for this. You planned for this. And now you get to enjoy it fully without that undercurrent of anxiety or guilt or, should I really be doing this? Yes, you should, because you saved for it. That's the whole point. So how much should we save in this book? 3, 2, 1. So how much should we save in tier two, our lifestyle goals? This is flexible depending on your goals and timeline, but I generally recommend 10 to 20% of your take home pay going into tier two accounts. Yes, accounts with an S, plural. You heard me correctly. I'm a big fan of opening separate high-yield savings accounts for each major goal. Most online banks let you do this for free. You can have 5 or 6 or 10 different savings accounts all under one login. Name them something specific and something that pulls at your heartstrings a little bit. Italy 2026, new car fund, home down payment, freedom fund, dream wedding. Why? Because when you see that money going towards a specific purpose, you're way less likely to dip into it for random stuff. It's not just savings that feels abstract and meaningless. It's my Italy fund, and you can see yourself walking through cobblestone streets and eating pizza and feeling free and happy. That's powerful. And use automation here. Set up automatic transfers on payday. Maybe it's $100 to your travel fund, $75 to your car fund, $50 to your education fund, whatever works for your income and your goals. Let's say you want to save $3,000 for a vacation in 12 months. That's $250 a month. Set up an automatic transfer for $250 on payday, and boom, in a year, you're booking flights and hotels with cash, not credit cards. The point is, you're not thinking about saving every month. You're not making a conscious decision. It's just happening. You set it once, and then it runs in the background while you live your life. Tier 3, your long-term wealth. This is your future self saying thank you. All right. Tier 3 is where we talk about money that's going to work for you over time. This is your investments, your retirement accounts, and your wealth building bucket. And I know retirement feels like a million years away, especially if you're in your 20s and 30s. But here's the truth. The earlier you start, the less you have to save in the future. That's thanks to compound interest, which Albert Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world. Money you invest in your 20s and 30s does way more heavy lifting than money you invested in your 40s and 50s. I'm talking exponential growth. Let me give you a quick example. If you invest $200 a month starting at age 25 and you get an average return of 8% per year, by the time you're 65, you'll have about $700,000. But if you wait until you're 35 to start investing that same $200 a month, you'll have about $300,000 by 65. That's a $400,000 difference just because you started 10 years earlier. Same monthly contribution, wildly different outcomes. So even if you can only put away a small percentage right now, do it. Even if it's only $50 a month, even if it's $25 a month, because future you, whether that's 10 years from now or 40 years from now, is going to be so incredibly grateful. So what does tier look like practically? Employer-sponsored retirement plans like a 401k or 403b. If your employer offers a match, contribute at least enough to get the full match. It's literally free money. Don't leave it on the table. If they'll match up to 4% of your salary, contribute that 4%. It's an immediate 100% return on your money. Roth IRA or traditional IRA. If you've maxed out your employer match or don't have access to a 401k, open up an individual retirement account, also known as an IRA. In 2025, you can contribute up to $7,000 a year or $8,000 if you're over 50 to your IRA. A Roth IRA is especially great if you're younger because you pay taxes now, but all the growth is tax-free forever. Taxable brokerage account. Once you've maxed out your retirement accounts, or if you want access to investments without the age restrictions and penalties of retirement accounts, consider opening a regular brokerage account. You can invest in index funds, ETFs, individual stocks, whatever aligns with your risk tolerance and strategy. So how much should you save here? Ideally, you want to aim for 15 to 20% of your gross income going towards retirement and long-term investments. But again, if that's not realistic, start with something, 5%, 3%, even the bare minimum just to get your employer match. The goal is to build the habit and increase it over time as your income grows, as you pay off debt, as your tier 1 emergency funds get fully funded and you can redirect the money. All right, so let's recap. You've got tier 1, your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, boring, safe, essential. the foundation everything else is built upon. Tier 2, your lifestyle goals, the fun stuff that keeps you motivated and makes life worth living. And Tier 3, your long-term wealth, investments, and retirement accounts that are quietly growing in the background. Now, how do you actually split your money between these tiers? Here's a framework that works for a lot of people. But remember, this is flexible towards your situation. 20% to Tier 1 until your emergency fund is fully funded, then shift that 20% to Tier 2 or Tier 3. The magic isn't in hitting some arbitrary perfect percentage. The magic is in the system, in the automation, in the clarity of knowing exactly where your money is going and why. You're not just randomly saving and hoping it works out. You have a plan, you have structure, you have intention, and intention changes everything. Okay, we've covered the what and the why. Now let's talk about the how, because strategy without execution is just a nice idea that sits in your journal and never actually happens. This is where automation becomes your best friend, your secret weapon, your financial superhero. And I'm not exaggerating when I say automation is the single most powerful tool in personal finance. It's more powerful than willpower, more powerful than discipline, more powerful than motivation, because willpower fades. Discipline is exhausting. Motivation comes and goes. But automation is forever, or at least until you actively turn it off. Here's what I want you to do. You can literally do this today. Like, pause this episode right now, open your banking app, and set this up if you want. Step 1, set it and forget it on payday, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. You want money to automatically move into your 3 tiers before you have a chance to spend it. This is the pay yourself first principle that every personal finance book talks about, but it's actually executed in a way that works. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your emergency fund, your lifestyle goals, and your retirement or investment accounts. Most employers will even let you split your direct deposit, so your paycheck automatically goes into multiple accounts before you even see it. Some goes to checking for bills and spending. Some goes straight to savings. Some goes straight to your Roth IRA. If that's an option for you, use it. Because the money you never see in your checking account is the money you never miss. It's like magic. Painful magic at first, maybe, like especially when you're adjusting to living on less. But then a few months in, you forget it's even happening. And your savings, it's just growing consistently, reliably. And here's the beautiful part. Once it's set up, you don't have to think about it anymore. You're not relying on willpower to save at the end of the month when there's nothing left. You're not relying on discipline to transfer money manually every single week. You're not relying on motivation that's going to disappear the first time you have a bad day and want to treat yourself. You're relying on a system that works whether you're having a great day or a terrible one, whether you're feeling motivated or burned out, whether you remember or forget. You wake up, you go to work, you live your life, and in the background, your savings are growing every single week, every single month. Now that is freedom. Step 2, rebalance quarterly. Now, here's something most people don't talk about. Your saving strategy should evolve with your life. Yeah, automation's great, set it and forget it, but I don't mean set it and forget it for like 10 years. What you needed financially 6 months ago might not be what you need now. What you need 6 years ago may not be what you need today. Your priorities shift, your income changes, and your goals evolve. So every 3 months, put it on your calendar. Set a recurring reminder. Tie it to the start of each season. Sit down for 20 minutes and review your accounts. Pour yourself a coffee or a glass of wine, pull up your banking apps, and ask yourself, is my emergency fund fully funded? Or is it fully funded on what I think fully funded used to mean, or a number that I used to feel comfortable with? Now that number has changed. If it's fully funded, can you redirect that money to Tier 2 or Tier 3? Should you be putting that 15% towards your Italy fund instead, or bumping up your retirement contributions? Are your lifestyle goals shifting? Maybe you've saved enough for that car, and now you're pivoting to saving for a house. Maybe you've decided you actually don't want that home renovation you've been thinking about, but you do want to go back to school. Update your accounts to reflect your actual current goals. Has my income changed? If you got a raise, this is huge. Increase your automatic transfers by at least 50% of that raise before your lifestyle even has a chance to inflate. Get in front of that lifestyle creep. If you got a $200 a month raise, bump your savings by at least $100. The other $100, enjoy it. You earned it. But don't let the entire raise disappear into lifestyle creep. Am I on track? Look at your progress. Are you hitting your targets? Do you need to adjust? Are some accounts growing faster than others? Should you rebalance? This isn't about obsessing over your money. It's about staying intentional, about making sure your money is working towards the life you actually want, not the life you wanted 3 years ago or the life you think you're supposed to want. 20 minutes, 4 times a year to review your savings strategy. That's it. And honestly, these quarterly reviews, they can be kind of fun because you get to see your progress, you get to watch your numbers grow, and you get to celebrate how far you've come, most importantly. Step 3, consistency beats perfection. I'm going to say this one more time because it's so important. And I think this is where most people get stuck. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. There will be months where life is expensive, where your transmission dies and costs $2,000 to fix, where you have 3 weddings in one summer, where your dog eats something stupid and needs emergency surgery, and you might have to pause a transfer or pull from your Tier 2 account because your Tier 1 isn't quite enough yet, or adjust your percentages for a few months while you deal with something unexpected. That's fine. That's life. The goal isn't to never touch your savings. The goal isn't to execute this perfectly for 40 years straight with no detours. The goal is to build a system that's resilient enough to handle imperfection, a system that bends but doesn't break, a system that lets you pause when you need to, adjust when life changes, and then get back right on track without guilt or shame or feeling like you failed, because you didn't fail. You are a human living a human life, and human lives are messy and unpredictable and full of things you didn't plan for. The system accounts for that. The system expects that. And you know what? Even if you automate just one savings transfer this week, even if it's $25 to your emergency fund, you're doing something that 60% of Americans aren't doing. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency with cash. They'd have to put it on a credit card or borrow money. You're building a foundation. You're creating options for yourself. You're saying, I matter, my future matters, and I'm going to take care of myself. That's powerful. That's radical, actually, in a culture that's designed to keep you broke and stressed and dependent on debt. Let me give you a few quick tool recommendations to make this whole process even smoother. High-yield savings accounts. Look for online banks like Ally, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, SoFi, or Discover. These accounts actually pay you decent interest, often 4% or more depending on the current market rate, while keeping your money accessible. Way better than the 0.01% your traditional brick and mortar bank is probably offering. Automatic savings apps. Apps like Capital or Digital or Acorns can round up your purchases and save the spare change automatically or autosave based on your spending habits. Some people love these as a supplement to their main saving strategy. Budgeting apps. INAB, You Need a Budget, or Every Dollar can help you see your full financial picture and adjust your savings percentages as needed. They integrate with your bank accounts and show you exactly where every dollar is going. Retirement platforms. If you're self-employed or don't have access to a 401k, check out programs like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Betterment for easy IRA and brokerage account setup. Low fees, simple interfaces, and automating investing if you want it. The right tools make the process so much easier, and most of them are free or low cost. You don't need to be a financial genius to make this work. You just need a system and a few good tools. All right, my friend, we've covered a lot today, like a lot. Let's bring it home. Here's what I want you to remember. Saving isn't about restriction. It's about freedom. It's about giving yourself options and building a life where unexpected expenses don't derail you. About saying yes to opportunities because you've got the financial cushion to take the leap. It's about sleeping better at night, about feeling less anxious when you think about the future, about knowing that you're taking care of yourself. And the way you do that, you automate. You build systems that work for you, not against you. You create 3 tiers. Tier 1, your safety net, the foundation that lets you breathe. Tier 2, your lifestyle goals, the dreams that keep you motivated. Tier 3, your long-term wealth, the future you're building quietly in the background. You set up automatic transfers, you review them quarterly, and you give yourself grace when life happens. Because it will happen. The car will break down, the dog will get sick, your best friend will get engaged and want you in the wedding. Life is expensive and unpredictable and full of surprises, both good and bad. And that's okay. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for progress. You're aiming for a system that can handle reality. Here's what I want you to do before the next episode drops. Automate one new savings transfer this week, even if it's just $25. I don't care which tier you pick. I don't care if it's a huge amount or a tiny amount. Just pick one account, one goal, one transfer. Set it up, schedule it, make it automatic, and then let it run. You don't have to overhaul your entire financial life today. You don't have to open 6 savings accounts and restructure your entire budget and achieve financial perfection by Friday. You just have to take one step, one tiny, imperfect, beautifully human step forward. Because here's the secret nobody tells you. The first step is the hardest one. Once you've done it once, the second step is easier, and the third step is easier than that. Momentum builds on itself. 6 months from now, you're going to look at your savings account and realize you have 500 or 1,000 or $2,000 that you didn't have before. Money that appeared almost like magic because you automated it and forgot about it and just let it grow. And that feeling, the moment when you realize, oh my gosh, I actually did this, that's going to change something in you. You're going to start believing different things about yourself and what you're capable of, about your relationship with money. And that's when things really start to shift. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a quick preview of what's coming next week because honestly, I'm really excited about this one. Next week, we're talking about investing. And before you click away thinking, not for me, or I don't know enough about the stock market, or isn't that just for rich people? Stop right there. The episode is called Investing Without Intimidation, From Thinking 3, 2, 1, From Overthinking to Ownership. And we're going to demystify the entire process. Because here's the truth. Investing isn't just for people in fancy suits working on Wall Street. It's for anyone who wants their money to grow while they live their life. And I know investing feels intimidating. I know it feels like you need to understand complicated charts and read the Wall Street Journal every day and somehow predict which stocks are going to go up or down. But what if I told you that the most successful investors are actually the ones who do the least, who set it and forget it, who don't try to time the market or pick individual stocks? What if investing could be as simple as the automated savings we just talked about today? Next week, we're covering why investing is less scary than you think and why waiting is costing you more than you realize, the difference between saving and investing, and why you need both, index funds, ETFs, and retirement accounts explained in actual human language, how to start investing with whatever amount you have right now. Yes, even if that's $50, the biggest investing mistakes people make and how to avoid them, and how to start overthinking and just start. If you've been sitting on the sidelines thinking you'll invest someday, or when you know more, or when you have more money, this episode is for you because someday is expensive. And the best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. You're going to walk away from that episode feeling confident, informed, and ready to actually take action. No more paralysis by analysis. No more intimidation. Just clarity and a simple plan you can implement immediately. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for being here today. Truly. I know your time is valuable and precious and limited, and I'm honored that you spend part of your day with me learning about something that matters. If this episode helped you, If something I said resonated or clicked or gave you a new perspective, do me a favor. Share it with one person who needs to hear it. Text it to your best friend who's always stressed about money. Post it in your Instagram stories. Send it in your family group chat. Leave a review if you're feeling generous. Every single one of those actions help this podcast reach more people who are ready to take control of their financial lives. And honestly, that's why I do this, because I believe that financial education should be accessible to everyone, not just people who can afford financial advisors or who grew up learning about money. Everyone deserves to be financially confident and empowered, including you. So if you found value here today, pass it on. Help someone else too. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with this. You are not behind. I know it might feel like everyone else has their shit together and you're the only one struggling. I know it might feel like you should be further along by now, but comparison is the thief of joy. And it's also completely inaccurate. Most people are not doing well financially. Most people don't have emergency funds. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, and too ashamed to talk about it. Until next week, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and remember, you are not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. Now go automate that savings transfer, even if it's $25, even if it feels small. Do it anyway. I'll see you next week when we tackle investing. And I promise it's going to be way less scary than you think.